Everybody, this is Shawna Odette from the Flying Cat Academy. Welcome to lesson number 80. In this lesson, we will look at 3 new vowel teams, OA, OW, and OE. Let's begin by setting up the table. You'll need your top 160 sight word list, the sight word study method instruction sheet, the sight word pack, some blank index cards, a highlighter, markers, and some pencils. For the phonemic awareness drill, you need the instruction sheet and the colored tiles for the student. And for the visual drill and auditory drill, you need the instruction sheets and the student's card pack. Today we'll be doing a syllable card drill, so you'll have to have these cards cut out and ready to go on the table. For the magnetic letter tile drills for reading and spelling, you'll need the instruction sheets and the cookie sheet with the letters spread in a rainbow shape for the student. You'll have the syllable pounding instruction sheet, the new phoneme grapheme kinesthetic discovery sheet, and the sheets for the lesson. We'll also do a sort today, so you'll have to have that one cut out. And you might have a timer on the table as well. You'll need this if you've introduced the fluency piece to the lesson, which you'll need to do with a secondary program, such as Read Naturally or the 6-minute reading solution. Let's begin with the sight word study method. Student, could you take out your sight word card pack? What I'd like you to do is read every word in your pack. After you read a word correctly, you'll put a check mark in the corner of the card. Then you hand the card pack to your teacher, and it's your teacher's turn to read. Your teacher reads each card, and you write down each word. When a word is written correctly, you put a check mark in the other corner of the card. Then it's time for a quick discussion with your teacher about which of those words has been mastered. Mastered words are removed from the card pack. This leaves space so that you can have a new sight word. Let's do the phonemic awareness drill. We're going to do it in a slightly different way today. Today we're not going to use the colored tiles. Instead, I'd like you to listen for either long vowel sounds or short ones. Remember that the short ones are the ones we did with our short vowel drill. Apple, Eddie, itchy, olive, up. So let's go through those sounds. A, I, a. And what are the long vowel sounds? Well, those are the sounds where the vowels are saying their names. A, E, I, O, U. And we have to be aware that with the U, a lot of times we get lazy, and U is actually 2 sounds, right? It's a Y of the Y and a oo. And we just say the oo part sometimes. So it might come out as y-oo, like it does in the word hue, or it might just sound like ooh as it does in true. Okay, so you're listening. Today we'll focus on the sounds of A and E. So you'll have A, and E that you're listening for. Okay, so you're going to need a gesture. I like to do, you could have, I think I told you, you could grab your earlobe if you hear a long vowel sound, and keep your hands in your lap if it's short, or you could make up your own gesture. I like to always go short and then long myself. Okay, so get a gesture, know what it is for short or long. And here we go. Your word is tray. Can you repeat that word? I might say, I was on a plane and the stewardess gave me a tray. Okay, what sound do you hear? Is it long or short? Listen for the vowel tray. Well, that one I hear it as long. I hear the A sound. Okay, try this one. Tran. Can you repeat that word? Is the vowel long or short? I hear short in that one. I hear the ah sound of apple. Okay, how about this one? Met. Can you repeat that word? Is the vowel sound short or long? I hear short in that one. Eddie. Okay, how about this one? Pain. Can you repeat that word? I felt great pain when I fell off the trampoline. Is the vowel sound long or short? Pain. If you're doing the earlobe thing, I would grab my earlobe for that one. Or I'd say long. I hear the A that is clearly saying its name. How about this one? Meet. Can you repeat that word? I will meet you for dinner. Is the vowel long or short? I hear a long one in that one. E. Okay. How about this one? Ask. Can you repeat that word? If not, I will ask you again. Is that vowel long or short? That was short. I hear the ah sound. Okay, great job. Let's move on. It's time for the visual drill. Student, what sound does this one make? Did you say A? If you did, that's right. Okay, teacher, do about 6 to 8 flashcards in this way. Now let's do the auditory drill. Student, your sound is V. Can you repeat that sound? Now how do you write V? What are the symbols for that? Write them down and say the sound as you do it. And then underline it and say the sound again. And then we'll check your work. TH makes V as in the. Okay, great job. Teacher, you can do about 6 to 8 flashcards in this way. Now it's time for the blending drill. And I have this one on the video for you, so you can just keep playing. We'll do the syllable card drill now, and your teacher has this one cut out and ready to go on the table for you. You'll read down the column on the left, all the syllables, and then all the syllables in the column on the right, and then you'll read across the rows making nonsense words. Finally, you'll unscramble things to make real words. Remember to talk about the meanings of the words and put some of those words into sentences. Let's do some syllable pounding. I'm going to say either a real word or just part of a real word. And you're listening for how many vowel sounds you hear, how many syllables you hear. Here's your first one, X. To find out, I would put my hand under my chin and say X. And then I'd count how many times my chin hits my hand. Or I could stretch out my hand and say X, and then shoot out my finger every time I hear a vowel sound. So in X, there's one. Try this one, exist. How many? Did you say 2? If you did, that's right. How about explain? In that one, I hear 2. And let's try this one, raindrops. Well, I hear the A in rain and the ah of the short O in drops. So I hear 2. Okay, let's move on to scooping syllables. So take out your scooping syllables worksheet, and teacher, you can take out the answer sheet. And student, I'd like you to talk through your thinking as you're doing the scooping. Now let's practice making some word sums. This is where we have a base, and we're going to choose a suffix that we'd like to add to the end of the base. When we do that, we have to think, what type of base are we looking at? Is it a closed syllable, an open syllable, a vowel consonant silent E? And there's a certain great spelling rule that kicks in when you are trying to add a suffix that starts with a vowel to any of these syllable types. And each one has their own great rule. So right now, work through the sheet, and teacher, you're keeping an eye on the time so you'll know how many words can be done. And, if we're being time conscious, make sure that there's at least one closed syllable, one open syllable, and one vowel consonant silent E that gets worked on. Now let's do a quick sort to review those ideas of what are those different syllable types. Your teacher has this one cut out and ready to go on the table, and you'll see that there's some headings, closed, open, vowel consonant silent E, and vowel teams. So you'll just tap it and say the word, and then move the card to be under the heading that is the correct one. The trickiest parts about vowel teams are that there are lots of words where we have different meanings and different spellings, but they sound exactly the same, such as peak. I will peak, which would be P-E-E-K, or I will go up to the mountain peak, which would be P-E-A-K. So to try and work on, which is which, we do a fun little drill here. So we've been doing this in lessons 77, 78. So, now it's lesson 80, and I think you're probably experts by now at this. What you're going to do is you've got the cards on the table, your teacher has them all laid out, and the teacher will put one card down and read it and then make a little first part of a story. And then the student, you read the next card and you add to the story. And it can be as silly as you want. And it's just a way to practice looking at the card, identifying what it means, and putting it in a context. Let's move into the new section of the lesson. Today we're going to look at 3 new vowel teams, and they all make the same sound. Here they are. Let's apply that rule of vowel teams. So remember that 2 vowels go walking, and the first one does the talking. So what sound does OA make? You said O, I'm sure. And what sound does OW make? O again. And OE is another vowel team, so what sound will it make? Yep, right a third time it says O, so all of these say O. When we explore where these different ones happen in words, are they at the beginning, the middle, or the end? That can provide us with an excellent clue about what spelling we're going to use for what word. So let's look at OA first. On your magnetic letter tile board, could you pull down an O and an A? And what I'd like you to do is add a T behind it. And now tap it and say it. Did you say that word is oat? If you did, that's right. There are lots of words in this family of OAT. So what I want you to do with your magnetic letter tile board is just experiment with adding some different consonants at the front of oat to see what different words you can make. And as you're doing this, I want you to be working on this sheet. So right now, we're working on OA, and we're wondering, what are the words where OA is at the beginning? What are common words where OA is in the middle? And how about at the end? We know one OA at the beginning is oat. So in this space, you could write OAT. And now, when I asked you, hey, let's add some consonants to the front of that word, we're going to end up with a whole bunch of ones where OA is in the middle. For example, if I just grab the first consonant at the start of the alphabet there, I would have boat. So I could write that in the box for OA in the middle of the word. Okay, with your teacher, can you work on that middle column, OA in the middle, by adding different consonants at the start of oat? And then you can even change the consonant at the end if you can think of some that would be appropriate, like soap would be one. Yeah, and OA at the end, well, we can just give that a big cross. Like we can just cross that one right out on the end there, because OA at the end of the word is not going to be a thing. So I'm just going to cross it right out. Okay, work on the OAs and then come back to me. The next one that we're going to look at is OW. If we think about OW at the beginning of the word, saying O, there's very few words I can think of this one. Own, I own the book. In the middle, but at the end. So you notice that OA doesn't appear at the end of the word. When you hear the O sound at the end, you're going to use OW. So let's think of lots of ones. There's so many. If I had, let's grab the B again. If I had this one and I'm going to say that the OW is saying O, what is that word? Just tap it and say it. That's bow. Okay, so you could write down BOW in the third column where it says OW at the end. Okay, here's another one. Yep. So what I'd like you to do is you have the OW, put it on your letter board, on your magnetic letter board, and then just as I'm doing right now, add different consonants at the front to make new words. And then you'll record them on your chart. And when you do that, when you're finished, come back to me. Now let's have a look at our last combo, OE. OE is always going to be at the end of a word. You're not going to find it at the beginning. You're not going to find it in the middle. So that is a great way to know when to use OE. There's only a couple words that actually do it, so a couple common words. And so we'll talk about like, how do you know if it's going to be OW, which is found at the end, or how do you know if it's OE? But for right now, let's just write down the common words that you'll find with OE at the end. So on your magnetic letter tile board, pull down an O and an E, and then just look at your consonants and see which consonants you could add at the front to make a word. Doe works because doe is a female deer. Okay, find the other words and write them down on your chart. The question is, how do you know whether to use OW or OE when you hear that sound O at the end of a word? Because if you look at your chart, we have OW and OE both occurring both at the end. If I hear it in the middle, I know I'm going to write OA. That'll be how I show that sound. But at the end, it is confusing. So we have a little story that we remember because there's not many OE words. So I'm going to use OW unless it's one of the following words. Do, to, fo, wo. And there's one hoe, like a farmer uses a hoe. Yeah, so those are the few words. So there's a little cartoon that I made, and I'll tell you the story. And just like the pale male whale, we'll just remember these few words by remembering the story. Once upon a time, there was a deer hunter. And the deer hunter went into the woods on a beautiful night and set up camp, thinking that the next day she would go hunting, looking for deer, of course. So she set up a campfire and made a wonderful vegetable stew. Oh, it smelled so great. There was a doe, a female deer, not far off, and she smelled the wonderful soup and started wandering towards the camp. And this story is about what happened when the doe, a female deer, met the deer hunter, who is a foe of all deer, the enemy. She wandered in. Oh, I love that soup. And when the deer hunter saw her, she sprang into action thinking, wow, I'll get my deer right now. And she was going to hurt the deer. So the deer looked around for something to defend herself with, couldn't find anything. So she jumped on the hunter's toes. Bang, bang. And then off she ran. So what we say to remember this is, the doe hit her foe's toe, and her foe felt woe. Ow, ow, ow. She's jumping all around. And the deer thought, I wonder if I can get that soup. Nope, too dangerous. And off she went. Okay, it's time for the magnetic letter tile drill for reading. Student, can you take out your cookie sheet with the letters spread in a rainbow shape for this one? Your sound is F. Can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Can you say O? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Can you say O? Now find the correct tile or tiles and pull them to the middle. Tap it and say it. Did you say the word was flow? If you did, that's correct. The river will flow down to the ocean. And did you spell it F-L-O-W? If you did, that's correct. We know that when we hear that O sound at the end of the word, unless it's part of the little do-to story, then we're going to spell it with O-W. All right, let's try a new word. So put those tiles back. And here we go. Your first one is O. Can you say that sound? Now find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Your next sound is O. Can you say that sound? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Can you say F? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Now think about your spelling and tap it and say it. Did you say this word was loaf? I have a loaf of bread. If you did, that's right. And you spell this one L-O-A-F. If we hear that O sound in the middle, we're going to use O-A. Okay, teacher, if you have time, you can do more words in this way. And if not, then you can move right on to reading the single word list, then the short story, and then you'll add the fluency element if it's part of the lesson. Now let's do the magnetic letter tile drill for spelling. Student, your word is tow. This is the kind of tow, as in, I will tow the boat behind my truck. Okay, what's the first sound that you hear in tow? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. And what's the second sound you hear in toe? Find the correct tile or tiles and pull them to the middle. Okay, tap it and say it. Did you spell this one T-O-W? If you did, that's right. Now I'd like you to change the spelling to show me the toe. How would you spell toe when I mean there's a toe on the end of my foot? Make the change now. Did you spell this one T-O-E? If you did, that's right. Okay, put those tiles back and let's try a new word. Your word is blow. When I have gum, I might blow a bubble. What's the first sound that you hear in blow? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. What's the next sound that you hear in blow? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. What's the last sound that you hear in blow? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Now tap it and say it. Did you spell this one B-L-O-W? If you did, that's right. Teacher, if you have time, you can do more words in this way. And if not, then student, grab your pencil and line paper, and we're going to write some single words. I'll say the word, and I want you to repeat it. So your word is feet. Can you repeat that word? Okay, and I'm talking about the feet as in the feet on the end of your legs. So I want you to tap out the sounds you hear in feet, say the whole word, and write it down. Okay, did you spell this one F-E-E-T? If you did, that's right. Now I want you to spell feet as in it was a great feat when I took a dive from the high board. Tap and write it. Did you spell this one F-E-A-T? If you did, that's right. Okay, try this one. Read as in I will read a book. Tap it and say it. Okay, did you do this one R-E-A-D? If you did, that's correct. Now spell the reed as in there was a bunch of reeds at the edge of the lake. Did you spell this one R-E-E-D? If you did, that's right. And how about this one? Your word is hay. Can you repeat that word? The hay was growing long in the field. Now tap it and say it and write it down. Did you spell this one H-A-Y? If you did, that's right. Okay, so now let's do some sentences, and these ones are really going to focus on that O sound that we've been working on with the different OA, OW, and OE teams. So, teacher, you can read the 3 sentences and let the student choose the 2 that will be written. And student, after you finish writing a sentence, make sure you check your work with CHOPS. Do a quick review before you go. You know 8 vowel teams. That's a lot. What sound do these 2 make? I hope you said A. And which one of these is going to appear at the end of a word? Tell your teacher now. AY is the one that's going to be at the end. Here's another set of vowel teams that you are familiar with now. What sound do they make? They all say E. And which one of these ones will you find at the end of a word? That will be EY again. So it's that Y is a good indicator, isn't it? That it's going to be at the end. But then we learned about 3 new ones today. And what sound do they make? And which ones of these ones will you find at the end of a word? Tell your teacher now. Did you say these guys? That's correct. And tell your teacher the story that we told you to remember which ones are going to be spelled with OE. Okay, that's the end of Lesson 80. Great job today. This is Shawna Odette from the Flying Cat Academy.